two police chiefs to be with me today. Surprise Police Chief Evan Beecher and Queen Creek Police Chief Randy Bryce. And we want to address a problem that their officers are facing every day in their communities. And furthermore, since it's the summertime, we always see a spike in juvenile crimes in the summer. That's what we're going to be talking about. So it's teens and violence, and it's the kind of acts that are going to steal their future before they even have a chance to begin, both victims and offenders. Across this country and state, and certainly in Maricopa County, young people are getting a hold of guns and using them at an alarming rate. From armed robberies to drive-by shootings and even murder, they're making decisions that not only carry serious consequences, but will follow them, because many of these crimes call for charging juveniles as adults. We talk about justice, but no one wants to watch a teenager throw away years of his or her life. And likewise, victims of juveniles are often juveniles themselves, and they will have to bear the burden of victimization, oftentimes for the rest of their lives, or may even lose their life. Recently, a young man was sentenced to more years in prison than he had been alive when he was involved in a crime that resulted in murder. On November 28, 2023, Xavion Young, Darian Harris, Leonard Brown, and Takari Humphrey made the decision to rob another teen in Phoenix. That decision ended with a 17-year-old boy dead. The victim's parents not only lost their child, but the victim had a 2-month-old son who lost his father. So if you'll turn your attention to the screens on the side, I'm going to show you surveillance video from the night that captured the shooting. There is no audio. This is one example of the magnitude of what we're talking about here. Lives are at stake, and not only for the victims. The day Young pulled that trigger was his 16th birthday. Even though his particular bullets did not strike the victim, under Arizona law, everyone involved in the robbery and shooting is responsible, regardless of whether or not their bullets hit the victim. He is now serving 18 years in prison, and that is flat time. He won't be getting out early. The oldest of the 4 co-defendants was only 19 years old, and they're all serving between 14 and 20 years in prison. So I wish I could stand up here and tell you that this is rare, this is the exception, but it's the opposite. It is happening too often, and our juvenile division in this office sees cases of teenagers with firearms nearly every day. Last year, the Maricopa County Attorney's Office charged 150 juveniles as adults. Of those 150 cases, 17 were first-degree murders, 39 were armed robberies, and 60 were Class 3 felony aggravated assaults. And let me explain. To be a Class 3 aggravated assault, it either has to involve serious physical injury or the use of a deadly weapon or dangerous instrument. Last year, we took a step toward addressing teen violence by passing Preston's Law to make an assault by 3 or more people on one person a Class 4 felony. Since Preston's Law took effect last September, we have charged 63 people. More than half of those, 34, are juveniles. Of those juveniles, 21 have been charged just since April of this year. I refuse to accept that this is just the way things are these days. Young people deserve a brighter future than what a prison cell brings. So here's what I leave you with. Not the problem, but the possibility. Because for every teenager that pulled the trigger, there are thousands more who didn't. As county attorney and as a lifelong member and resident of this community, I want to see kids here succeed. I want them to live up to their potential, and I want them to have a bright future ahead of them. For that to happen, we have to hold those that do these things accountable. And yes, that sometimes means sending them to juvenile detention or adult prison. But my hope is that your child is never sitting in a courtroom facing years of their lives locked away. That's why we need parents to be invested. We need mentors who will show kids that there is a path that leads somewhere other than in and out of prison. The answer to teen violence is not just consequences, it's also connection. It's young people knowing that someone sees them, someone believes in them, and someone cares enough to stop them before they make a decision that will change their life forever. That connection starts at home and in schools. But police officers also play an important role in this, so I'd like to introduce Chief Beecher first from Surprise, and then Chief Bryce from Queen Creek to talk about what their officers are doing to combat teen violence. Chief.
All right, thank you, ma'am. I really appreciate that. Thanks. I truly appreciate this opportunity to speak about this topic. So, teen violence is not just a law enforcement issue; it's a community issue, a family issue, and ultimately a public safety issue that affects us all. Our message today is simple: choices have consequences, and prevention starts long before a young person encounters a police officer. As chief, I want our community to know that Surprise Police taking a proactive approach to addressing teen violence. To increase visibility and enforcement during times when juvenile-related incidents are most likely to occur, we have strengthened our weekend and evening patrol staffing. We are placing officers where and when they are needed most. We have also returned school resource officers to patrol assignments during non-school hours and summer months. These officers know our youth, our schools, and our neighborhoods. Their experiences allow us to better identify potential problems before they escalate into violence. Enforcement is important, but enforcement alone will not solve this problem. Parents and guardians remain the most important influence in a young person's life. We encourage parents to know where their teens are, who they are spending time with, and what activities they are participating in, both in and out of school. Know where gatherings are taking place, and if parents or guardians will be present at those gatherings. Pay attention to your teen's social media and online activities. Many of these incidents we investigate begin with conflicts that start online and eventually slip into the real world. The strongest prevention strategy we have is engaged parents who are actively involved in their children's daily lives. Our community is fortunate to have strong partnerships among the City of Surprise, local schools, and faith-based organizations that offer teens countless opportunities to stay active, build positive relationships, and participate in safe, structured activities outside of school and home. When crimes do occur, our detectives work relentlessly to identify everyone involved and hold offenders accountable. As we've seen in recent investigations, these cases can be complex and often require extensive digital evidence review, search warrants, subpoenas, and coordinated efforts with prosecutors. Accountability may not happen overnight, but our investigators are committed to conducting thorough investigations and following the evidence where it leads. I also want to emphasize that every member of our community plays a role in public safety. If you see something, hear something, or have information about criminal activity involving juveniles, please contact the Surprise Police Department. Information from community members is often critical to solving cases and preventing future violence. Together, we can create an environment where young people are held accountable for their actions while also being given opportunities to make better choices. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
As Rachel said, my name is Randy Bryce. I'm the chief of police down in the town of Queen Creek. And I also would echo Chief Beecher in thanking Rachel for the opportunity to stand with her on this important topic. As you know, the town of Queen Creek, we're a fairly new police department. We started the police department back in 2022. And as a new agency, there's lots of different challenges that we see on a daily basis. And from the very beginning, teen violence and interaction with teens have been a priority for us. Unfortunately, after 1 year of our service, towards the end of the second year, we had a tragedy in our community with Preston Lord homicide, our first and only homicide. While our community is extremely safe, this really showed us that there are things that we need to pay attention to, respond to, and be aware of. And one of the unique things that we're all talking about and in the communities that we're in, and I find it interesting that both I and Surprise are here because we've had some unique issues with this, is that we have still these teen gathering issues. Specifically for us, we've tried to address each one of those. We're trying to get to the root problem, putting personnel where they need to be, and working with our town council and legislators and our prosecutor's office to find those things that government can do. But what we've seen time and time again is that the only way to solve the problem is really to come together as a community. And that means that we are working together from schools, faith-based organizations, and as Rachel said, and I think this is the most important piece that has been missing in a lot of things we do, are parents. Parental accountability has been something that we've really struggled with in recent days. While this is not to the level of some of the things that have been talked about and the crimes involving gun violence, there are things that we've seen, especially in the Preston Lord homicide, these teen gatherings where they take over and then things get out of hand. So we've been very cognizant of how to identify and approach those things. And the new things, and it seems to be something across the nation, is teen takeovers, as they're calling it, or e-bike issues, or they're sometimes both related. On one of the slides here, I'll show you one of the things that's interesting in our community is we've been tracking these issues very heavily since our Preston Lord incident, but we really noticed recently that between the juvenile disturbances and e-bike related calls, we've seen a trend where it's up and up and up, and then that's where we start to see violence. So that's where our approach has been. Over just as we compare 25 to 26 first quarter, we've seen over 100% increase in calls related to these things. So it has been a priority for us, and we've made some changes. Our council has been very proactive to get this done, and we've had some very good success. We've 2 weeks into a code change that has dramatically changed some of the interaction with these kids. But what I'm here to say is that this is not just a Queen Creek problem, not just a surprise problem. This crosses all boundaries, and we need to work together, not just as government agencies, but as a community. So I would echo that we need to, the call to action really today is that we find a way to be part of the solution. And parents, we need you to be involved. Mentors, we need you to be involved. Schools, faith-based organizations, everyone needs to step in and be a part of that solution. And it's as simple as caring for these kids, standing up for them, being there with them when they're going through difficulties. In our community, we know we have great kids, and sometimes they make poor choices. And we just want to make sure that we're not just reacting to crime, but we're proactively dealing with these issues. So I would just leave you with that. If on the next slide, I just want to show this to kind of give you a feel for some of the things that we've seen. So just in the first quarter this year, we've dealt with numerous write-outs, and this is the kind of thing you see when some of these large groups together, that mob mentality or that group mentality starts to take over some of the decision-making process, and we have kids putting themselves in very dangerous situations. We've had some near-fatal accidents involving e-bikes and kids doing these kind of things. But this was just one incident where they took over an entire mile of roadway that's very busy in our town, taking over parks, basically driving out anybody else that wants to use the park, and then having some significant accidents. This individual struck that person at 32 miles an hour and then fled the scene. So my point being is that let's help these kids before they make poor choices. These are good kids that make mistakes. And I think that back to Rachel's point is that we don't want to just have incarceration be the solution. So I'll leave you with that. And again, thank you to Rachel for inviting me, and just want to say how much I appreciate our community, especially on the way that they've partnered with us to solve these problems. And that's really where our success has been. So thank you very much.
Thank you both. And let me just tell you how we're going to proceed. We're going to take your questions, and I know there's a lot to get to. So let's stick to teen violence first, and then we will switch over to the other topics that you have. And if you could step up to the microphone if you have a question.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Thank you for sharing all that information. Are you able to provide any perspective in your experience where you're seeing, and maybe you guys can weigh in as well, these teens are getting these guns? Are they getting them on social media? Are they selling them, trading them? Where are they getting them? And what's the penalties if they're caught using them?
Well, and I'll invite the chiefs up to answer that question too. What I'm seeing is, yes, they are buying and selling them via social media, which also puts them in peril just to have a gun deal. We've seen a number of those go very, very wrong. But they're also getting them from people who leave them, for example, in their cars unsecured. And you'll see car burglaries and the gun is taken out of them. Anything to add to that, gentlemen?
I would say the same thing. Primarily, when we have gun violence, the little that we do, most of the weapons that we've seen have been from stolen or thefts, burglaries, and primarily from cars where people are leaving those in there. So it really is back to the whole community-based issue, is that we need to pay attention to where we keep these things, how we're controlling our weapons, and really trying to keep these out of the hands of kids. It just seems to be a big problem. I know for the East Valley, that seems to be the #1 area where we're finding them. I don't know about you.
And so Rachel touched on this a little bit, but the social media component, I can't stress that enough. And so monitoring what your kids are doing, what they're looking at, the friends that they're having. If they're apprehensive to tell you what their handle is, then that should tell you something as a parent. And so I recommend, by all means, if you can get into their social media accounts, see what they're up to, see who they're connecting with, that makes all the difference in the world. And so, yeah, I can't stress that enough too. And so the thefts from the vehicles, the burglaries, that's a lot where we're seeing these things from.
Hi, Alan over Stolzgate News. In some of these cases, we have seen details about parents being present or hosting some of these gatherings. In your view, do lawmakers need to take a look at that and consider the role of parents in these teen violence cases?
You know, what I will say is that there are laws on the books that we can take a look at, and I've directed my juvenile division for when they receive submittals related to juveniles, that they should keep an open eye for when charges are appropriate. Obviously, it's very fact specific as to what they knew, what they did, but I am also believe that the police agencies are looking at that as well, but they say yes.
Yes. Yes. Simple answer is yes.
And then out of Surprise PD, I know there was an April case referred to your office regarding charges that Surprise said met the criteria of Preston's law. So would you be able to talk about that case at all and share any information of what happened there? Or also, Mitchell, would you be able to talk about reviewing those charges?
Yeah, so I still can't dive too much into that investigation because it's still ongoing. Still a lot of work's yet to be done with that case. But when it comes to the parent component of that, if there's an opportunity for us to look at a parent, if they've somehow cooperated with their child to make these kind of incidents occur, then by all means, if that charge is there, then we're going to pursue that charge. And so we've worked hand in hand with the county attorney's office, and I'm sure they'd be on board with that as well. If they're contributing to the delinquency of these minors and making these kinds of things happen, yeah, we're definitely going to look at that.
Any other questions related to teen violence? Okay, Dave.
I guess this would be a question more for the chiefs. Interesting statistics about the correlation between the e-bikes and the kind of fueling or driving, the teen violence. Do you have any sort of idea, like, it's not, I guess, the cleanest correlation, but like what kind of percentage of these teen violence kind of incidents have a component where they gather together on these e-bikes? I guess the correlation seems really strong, not only here but across the country. So if you could just talk about that.
Yeah, you put the slide up. So.
Yeah, so I guess that's me. Looking at just general statistics, again, there's some correlation, and you got to really look at the causation specifically, and it's kind of case by case. But just generally, when we look at our statistics across how we've increased juvenile contacts over the time that we've been first built the police department. So from 2022 to 2025, we've seen like 133% in arrests of juveniles, and contacts are a little bit higher than that, whether they're the driver in a situation or whatnot. But just anecdotally, what we're seeing is when they get together, that's when some interesting decisions happen, whether that is just breaking traffic laws or I'll give you a couple of quick examples. Is we had at one of our parks, there was a group of about 50, 60 teens that got together to do a ride out of sorts. It got broken up a little bit, and then eventually they kind of rounded over by us where people were playing baseball, a couple of league teams, and their confrontation occurred between them and an adult, but like 40 of them surrounded a couple of adults and tried to engage in a fight. Fast forward a couple weeks later, we had a situation where a group of teens on e-bikes started to get into an altercation with some other older teens that were in vehicles at a market area. And that then rolled to one of our parks, and they got into several assaults, and that's actually one of the Preston law cases that we submitted as well. So we're starting to see, again, it's not every time, and I'm not, and that's, I guess my point is that there are a lot of great kids that go out and just ride to ride. But when you start to gather up, then they start a lot of exhibition, and then they start doing more and more things that are a little bit more adventurous or risky, and then that sometimes tends to be this back and forth with other groups. And so we're seeing the violence quickly. And back to Preston's situation, you know, this all started with a type of team takeover at a party. So that's where the correlation that we're concerned about. We want to stay, rather than just being reactive, be proactive and saying, okay, that's how that started. So how do we stay ahead of this? And so the e-bikes have just been a nexus where we've really tried to watch.
So if I'm understanding, and I hope I'm not misinterpreting, it's more of the gathering, and the e-bikes now make that pretty easy for them to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it. Is it's e-bikes aren't inherently the problem because I think they're a great way to get kids out from behind their computers and out and not playing on their phone all the time and out and actually doing something interactive. The problem becomes is now you have the ease of them gathering quickly and they can move quickly, and we can't. It's very without being very aggressive, because we don't necessarily want to pursue kids into streets for civil offenses and cause problems like that. So they intentionally, and I didn't bring this video, but we have numerous where they'll actually taunt us to chase them. Gilbert PD has had the same issue, and a couple times where they'll slow down, wait for you to catch up to them, and then they'll kind of salute you a certain way, and then try to get you to chase them again. And so they want that activity, they want the clicks, and they want to put that on TikTok. So there's that interaction with us, but then they want to do that as they group up and they make some interesting choices to just be risky.
I'm interested in this. I might reach out to you guys about some of that.
Sure.
Any other teen violence related questions? Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to ask about violence prevention programs, because I know often counties and different departments get together, maybe with the state, to create programs like that for the teen violence people. Are there any, or are there any in the works, or have there been in the past?
Well, first of all, let me talk about what our office is doing related to that. We have started a teen advisory council for high schoolers, and they come in and meet with us monthly. They get educated on other topics as well, but we get educated from them on what challenges they're facing and talk to them about what they're seeing among their peers and how we can reach out and communicate more effectively with them. Stay tuned for the next press conference, because I'm going to be talking about that at that press conference. We also have a Teen Leadership Academy here, and we also have mentorship programs that our attorneys and staff engage in. We've been working with the courts on some new or innovative programs related to possession of guns that seem to be somewhat promising. So those are some of the things that we're doing within our office. I don't know if you guys want to highlight.
Yeah, I'll go first here real quick. But so, and we talked about it when we spoke earlier, but these different outreach programs that we have within the cities, and I know Queen Creek has just probably as many as we do, but one of the things that I'm most, I guess, proud of is our Explorer program. And so we're bringing the youth in, we're teaching them what cops do, and we're setting up for those lifelong lessons in law enforcement, just overall to be good citizens. And so whether they go down this path of pursuing law enforcement as a career, that's great if that happens. However, if they just become good citizens, like that's the key right there. And so having these different kind of community programs, and again, that's just one that I can speak of with the city of Surprise, but there's numerous. So youth council, mock trials, I mean, you name it, they're out there. And so instead of just getting, again, on social media, hanging out with your friends, getting on your e-bike, go and join something, go do a sport, go do some kind of community thing. And so they're out there, believe me, they're out there. And so, you know, as we're pouring into the schools with the SROs, the SSO programs and those things, like I know that narrative is getting pushed to these students that are out there, these young people. And so the outreach is there, the opportunity is there for sure.
So I want to reiterate the same thing. We have many, many programs just like that. But I think one of the other pieces of success that we have is it's not just the police doing it. Well, we have all those same programs and lots of outreach, including a cadet or explorer program, along with summer programs and stuff that we do year round, where I think our success has really been elevated is that the town and so the recreation departments, all the different organizations within collaborate with us. And then we also have churches, other faith-based organizations, and schools that then join with these different programs. And we try to spread this out. Then we even have some grassroots programs where there are different NGOs and just HOAs and family groups that partner with us on certain things. So we've seen a lot of increase. In fact, I was just talking to my lieutenant that's over our public affairs. We've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of requests for these interactions from different parts of our community that have been very successful. So we try to turn that to teens all the time, is how do we get the teens involved? And very successfully, the way that Rachel just talked about it, is we really go to them to say, what do you need? What do you want? How do we interact with you best? So, but again, it's not a police only problem. This needs to be a community-based approach. And that's where we just need everybody to kind of grab each other's arms and get around this problem. So I know that's a nice trope, but we do really believe that, and we think that there's success if we can find the right combination of people. So I hope that answers the question.
Hi. Both chiefs mentioned the importance of placing officers in the right areas at the right times. Can you specify a bit more about where those areas are? I know that places such as, say, Gilbert have had issues with in and out locations being particular gathering places, but was wondering if there were other kinds of like restaurants or entertainment districts that you guys are keeping an eye out for in particular.
You want to go first?
Go ahead. Sure, I'll go first, yeah. And so I think you hit it right on the head. And so there's those popular areas within our communities, I think that the kids like to gravitate towards. Some of the flyers that Chief Bryce had put up, same things that we're seeing across our city as well. And so, they're getting AI, they're saying, hey, meet up here. We try to get ahead of that, and we put officers where we believe that they're going to be. And so when they post these kind of things, like they'd be silly to think that we aren't going to be able to find it. So we're out there, and so when they post these kind of things, that we can send our resources where it's most appropriate. But yeah, to your point, I think by and large, it's those entertainment districts, just those large gathering areas where there's cool stuff to do, there's fun stuff to do, and then they go from there.
I agree, and I would add just a couple of key things that we've been seeing is your short-term rentals is another place that we pay attention to. We just had a couple weeks ago where 100 plus kids rented a house. Well, not even rented a house, they used a house that was, they just got in there and started using it. So that's one weak point that we have to kind of watch, and we work with local owners to do those things. Definitely the entertainment centers. Definitely any place that is open late that serves food. That's a hard target area that we need to pay attention to. The one thing that is interesting that we've been doing, and this is where I'll give all the credit to my staff because they're really innovative in this sense, is that when we see these things posted online, these gathering pieces or gathering points, whether it's a ride out or it's a, hey, we're gonna have a party, we proactively figure out who that is and reach out to the person that's actually trying to organize that and explain to them the law, the concerns we have, and just walk them through some of the issues that they might have, some of the liability concerns and the venue, so that it's not a gotcha thing. We're trying to inform and work with these individuals. And a lot of times the parents don't even know. And when we talk to parents, they're like, we'll take care of this. And so that's really where we've had some good success, is that we just short circuit that right up front. Not that we don't want to have people have fun, but we're concerned about, again, when they gather and we start to see this aberrant behavior that we're concerned about. So.
And to follow up on that point, in terms of when you reach out to parents for kids, either arrested or not, what is the typical reaction? Like, is it simply parents being busy and being unaware, or are there parents who are just like, kids will be kids, and or just don't even bother?
So great question. I'll be careful how I answer this question. So by and large, I think a lot of parents want to do the right thing. But what we're finding, two key issues for us, is that when we talk to parents about potential problems or things that have happened, or trying to partner with them to how to solve things in the future, a lot of parents are take the approach of not my kid, or that would never happen. That's not happening. That's not true. Even though we show them the video and this is what happened. So that some of it is just they're not willing to really understand the reality of it. And then some they don't care. We have some that just kind of a sense of entitlement, like, so what's the big deal? They're just having fun. This is normal. and equating things to back when I was a kid, when I left the house, we come home when it was dark, and my parents were fine with that. But it's just a different world we live in now, and we're starting to have these issues. So, but then there's the great parents that really are engaged. We've had a number of them that will say, we'll take care of this, we'll partner with you, we'll do this. So it's quite the mix. But if you throw out a topic like e-bikes, it's 50-50 sometimes in the community. People want, hey, let them do whatever they want. And then the other half is like, hey, let's take all the e-bikes and lock them up. So it's a tough audience to deal with. That's why we're asking help from parents. That's really the key part right there. So I don't know if you have something.
No, you said it great.
I just have a couple of questions for both of you about the surprise assault case back in April. I know it's still an active investigation. There's certain things you're not able to share, but you talked a lot about how social media is a way that these invites are sort of giving out to go to these house parties. But then once it actually happens, a lot of the times the kids are recording it. They're recording the crime. Can you talk about the role that's playing in the investigation? I understand there's a couple of juveniles that have been charged, but you're looking for others, and a lot of it's on video.
I'll keep this pretty brief, and I appreciate your perspective on this. So, and obviously that's an evidentiary item, and so those kind of things are critical. And so, if we're able to get that information, by all means, please get it to us. And so, I have my PIO back there, and he can give you our tip line, our email address as well. But yeah, those kind of things are critical when it comes to putting the pieces together of what happened that night. And so, being able to identify who the suspects are, who the players are in there, and then being able to go back and then really track down who those people are. And so, and I'm sure I'll speak for the county attorney here, but I'm sure those are great things to have in court too, when you're able to put a picture or a video up and say, hey, this is what happened and we're living it right now. But yeah, those are critical pieces of evidence, plays a key role, obviously, in these types of investigations.
Anything you could add to that? Just on the, attorney's office side, yes.
Well, that's actually one of the reasons we started the campaign Report Don't Repost, because we were seeing situations where people were just putting it up on social media, and we had no idea where it took place, who was involved in it, and they were saying, what are you going to do about it? Whatever police department. If you have a video of a situation like that happening, the best thing you can do with it is to give it to the police. If you repost it, you're kind of accomplishing what some people may want, which are the clicks, the attention. But if you send it to the police, then that's going to allow them to hopefully identify the people involved and hold them accountable. Mhm. Any more teen violence questions? Okay, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. And thank you for your partnership with our office. All right, any other questions?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This question coming from on behalf of my colleague Ashley Holden. The family of Rachel Hansen had a press conference, and one of the questions they have is why can't the medical examiner report be released, especially since the family has seen some of her medical records?
Mm-hmm. One of the chief responsibilities that I have as a prosecutor when I was handling cases in particular, is to preserve the integrity of the investigation. And there are times when it is not appropriate to release information during a pending investigation, which this certainly is an ongoing investigation. So I think that actually should be the norm, that those medical examiner reports not be released during the investigation. And, my heart goes out to them, what they're going through, how long this has taken. But what I would say to them is ultimately they're going to want an investigation that has the most integrity, and we haven't put information out there in the public.
So now, moving on to some other cases, happened way back in 2019, but Ishmael Hamed was just sentenced. He is the man charged with making terrorist threats and coming at a MCSO sergeant with a knife, essentially forcing the sergeant to have to shoot him. So he received a plea deal, and he was just sentenced, and the sergeant had some pretty harsh things to say. Particularly, one of the things that he said was, the United States does not negotiate with terrorists, but our county attorney just did that. I'm guessing in response to the plea deal. What would you say?
You know, I completely understand his perspective. You know, he was there facing that danger. And obviously, we have the luxury of looking at it, you know, with getting more information. And what I would say is this, it's not a matter of negotiating with terrorists. We looked at the information provided to us, and there was a significant mental health history that we did take into account. And every case is different. We looked at everything we had in that case, and we made the offer that we did.
So now I heard about the plea deal from some law enforcement sources, and they reached out actually because of the stories that I did about that doctor-surgeon case that I've been covering. And they said, well, this plea deal, the county attorney's office agreed to redesignate these charges as non-dangerous. So why aren't they willing to do that in the doctor's case? What do you say about that?
Well, as I've said at previous press conferences regarding that case, that's an ongoing case. It's set for trial coming up fairly soon. You know, I have to be very wary of, you know, tainting a jury pool. And so I'm not going to comment on that. But what I would say in general is this, every case is different. And we look at the unique factors of each case and make offers based on those.
In this case, a man intentionally went after an officer with a knife, and the doctor, even to the officer's admissions, didn't believe that he knew that they were officers. So I think people look at the comparison there and think, you know, why is one getting kind of these non-dangerous designations for a plea deal and the doctor cannot get that in his own?
Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not really going to address the doctor case, but what I would say is what we took into account in the other case is a significant mental health history.
Last question on that. I did a story recently about the officer, we believe, it looks like posted on social media essentially laughing about the case. Does that concern you that a law enforcement officer involved in a shooting, listed as a victim in the case, goes on social media and posts laughing face emojis about something so serious?
You know, obviously professionalism is very important to me. But that said, I haven't reviewed it. I'd have to look at the context in which that was done. But, you know, I know what happened that night. I've seen the videos, and we're going off of that, not an emoji that was posted, you know, over a year later.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hey.
Are you considering pursuing the death penalty against Michael Sanchez? And can you comment on whether the Capital Review Committee has issued a recommendation yet?
Well, I don't comment on what the Capital Review Committee recommends or not. That is part of the process. But since this is a very recent case, we have a long way to go in the process before I make a decision on that. But I will follow the same process with the Sanchez case that I follow with every other first-degree murder case.
And do you have any comments on the decision to charge the Buckeye police officer with 2 counts of aggravated assault?
You know, I don't want to comment specifically on that case because that's obviously an ongoing case. But what I will say it demonstrates is that in this office we follow the law. And there's, you know, been questions about, well, you should have charged an officer in this case. And the reality is we look at the law, we look at the facts, and we apply the facts to the law. And in this case, we charge the officer.
And last question, there was an interaction your office had on X after ICE tweeted that your office basically declined to pursue charges against an undocumented immigrant suspected of a fatal DUI, and had to sort of correct the record. Has your office had any additional conversations with ICE about you know, incorrect or false statements made on social media and anything else related to that interaction?
No, I mean, we have a professional relationship with our federal law enforcement partners. And while, you know, I think it was definitely important to correct the record, you know, we're going to go on from there. We corrected the record. It just kind of highlighted, and I don't know if you saw this or not, public and maybe some people within the system's misunderstanding of furthering an investigation. So I made a video describing why we further a case. We have to get it right the first time, and we can't hope that the evidence turns up. And so that's what we did, and ultimately we did indict, and the record was corrected. Hey.
So where do things stand with the Angela Berlacca and Haley Beck charging decision? Have you guys been able to talk to that critical witness yet?
At this point, we are working diligently to make sure that critical witness is interviewed. Through not completely out of our control, that has not been able to happen yet. But we're still working on that, and as such, the case is under review, both cases.
So basically, until you can talk to that person, you can't make a decision.
Critical means critical.
How about mandatory reporting? Could anyone face any, charges when it comes to lack of mandatory reporting in those cases?
Yeah, we don't have a submittal in that yet. I know that I was given some materials by one of the school board members. I did pass that along to the Peoria Police Chief. As you know, it's their responsibility to investigate. And so they're taking a look at that now, but as yet, we don't have a submittal on that.
Okay. So what's next for Ian Mitchum? Could we expect another sentencing trial? Is the death penalty still on the table?
Well, the death penalty is still alleged, and right now, we have to go through a process to consider whether we're going to go forward with that and do another sentencing phase of the trial or not. So we'll go through that process, and then I'll make a decision. I have not made a decision yet.
Okay. Several things I want to ask you about, so I'll ask as much as we can.
Okay.
The Cunningham child abuse and death case.
Mhm.
We understand there was an evidentiary hearing that was scheduled for 3 days that went longer. Can you talk about what the evidentiary issues are there?
Since it's ongoing, I'm not going to go into the details of that, but what I would say is we're still in that evidentiary hearing process. Yeah, it was scheduled for 3 days. And right now, we're scheduled to go through June 16th, so that's going to take us another 2 weeks. And that could be extended if more time is needed. Then after that, under the rules, the judge has up to, not saying she'll take this long, but up to 60 days to make a decision on the motion to dismiss with prejudice. So we kind of have to get through that before we make any further decisions. But obviously, I'm very aware of that case and watching it closely.
I mean, this was a really horrific child death investigation. How confident are you that justice can be served here with all of these other problems?
I'm not being flippant when I say you don't have to tell me that. I know. We're going to do everything we can.
So a couple of things going on in Gilbert. Another high-profile unsolved case, Nick Cordova. This is from 2020. Is your office involved with claims that the town of Gilbert illegally destroyed police records in that case?
No, we are not.
Are you aware or being asked to review or assist with a backlog of Gilbert's public records department?
No. Thanks to you all, we have plenty of public records requests to go through here ourselves. But, keep in mind, they're a city agency, we're a county agency, and, I don't oversee the police department, so they're going to have to go through their process, but no, we're not a part of that.
Do you have any confidence that Gilbert police can solve a homicide case or collect enough evidence for you guys to prosecute one?
Well, I must. We have one of their homicide cases being sentenced next week, and we have 10 other first or second degree murder cases that are pending trial. So, yes.
Are you pursuing any charges against any former or sitting Gilbert officials, employees, or law enforcement officers?
Related to this record situation?
Yes.
No.
to tout Gilbert as having virtually no crime.
Well, keep in mind, you're asking me if it's warranted, and, I would have to see some evidence to say whether something's warranted or not. No investigation has been presented to us requesting any sort of charges. So I would be operating without the adequate information to answer that.
Do you have concerns that people in Maricopa County are literally getting away with murder because there's issues with poor investigations and evidence handling?
Obviously, with any murder, we want to make sure that justice is done. I don't think that the number of unsolved homicides in Maricopa County is a standout number from other jurisdictions, especially similarly sized jurisdictions. And I have no reason to believe that law enforcement agencies aren't capable or dedicating resources to solving homicides. Sometimes they just don't get solved. But there are going to be times, even when a case is being worked, that it's going to go cold for a number of reasons. And while this is incredibly frustrating for families, I can't even imagine. But it doesn't mean that there was wrongdoing or incompetence. And I think that's an important distinction to make. It's also important to remember that with some cases, it's going to take a lot of time to get evidence, to analyze it. We're dealing with a whole different type of evidence now in current times than we were even 20 years ago. And that evidence almost invariably takes more time than it used to.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else? I'm asking this one for a colleague.
Okay.
She was wondering if there's any updates on referrals from the recorder's office of non-citizens who voted in past elections.
Okay, is there an update on the recorder's referrals to our office? Let me just give you a brief overview of what's going on there. So the county recorder referred 207 cases to our office, in which there was a concern that 207 individuals who are not citizens voted or were registered to vote in an election. 60 of those were alleged to have actually cast a vote. The other 147 were alleged to just have been registered but not voted. Now this is one time when our investigators actually will do an original investigation because it's coming from a county partner, the county recorder. And so I told the investigators to focus on those who actually voted first. That's 60 people. We're coming to the end of that fairly soon, I think. And as soon as we're at the end of those 60, I will be reporting back to the public, to the media, about what we have found.
Kind of just following up with that, any comment on the appeals process right now with the county recorder's office, the board of supervisors, and that case right now?
No, I represent both the county recorder and I represent the board of supervisors, and so I've appointed in that lawsuit between them an attorney for the board of supervisors. Mr. Heap has chosen his own, and so I don't think it's appropriate for me to comment.
Anybody else?
I've got more written down. I'm ready for you. Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good day.